Hello, friends. This is Confessions with Amy, and I'm glad you're visiting my channel. Here we share new confessions every day.
My name is Rachel, I'm 35 years old, and for the last 5 years, I was the backbone of a promising tech company in Seattle. When I say backbone, I mean it. I was responsible for nearly 45% of the company's revenue, almost half of it. I wasn't just another cog in the machine, I was the one who pushed the machine forward, day after day. I remember those early mornings vividly. The city was still quiet, the air crisp and fresh as I sat in my tiny apartment sipping black coffee and reviewing client reports. My laptop was my constant companion. While most people were still asleep, I was already on calls with clients across different time zones, negotiating deals that could bring in thousands of dollars for my team. It was exhausting, sure, but I thrived on it. Every contract signed felt like a personal victory. People told me I was driven, maybe even too driven. I never took long lunch breaks, rarely went out for happy hour, and sacrificed weekends just to perfect presentations or brainstorm new strategies. I believed that hard work would speak for itself, that my results would protect me. And for a while, it did. The CEO praised me in meetings, my team trusted me, and clients relied on me. I was proud of what I'd built, not just numbers, but relationships, respect, and a reputation as someone you could count on. But somewhere along the way, the praise stopped. The compliments became rare, the invitations to important meetings fewer. Instead, I noticed whispers behind my back and cold looks from some in management. At first, I brushed it off as jealousy or office politics, something everyone faces. But then, the changes started to hit harder. During one meeting, my ideas were dismissed outright. The same ideas that had previously been celebrated suddenly seemed to fall flat. I was told to let others lead and give room for fresh perspectives. It stung, but I kept my mouth shut and pushed forward. After all, I was here to work, not to complain. The final blow came unexpectedly. I was called into the office of the CEO's son, young, arrogant, and new to his position. Without much ceremony, he told me bluntly that I was being let go. The company was going in a different direction, and they needed hungry talent, not someone like me who was apparently too comfortable. I was shocked. I was the top earner. I brought in almost half the revenue. How could that be true? He said it like it was obvious, like my contributions didn't matter anymore. We need people with fire in their eyes, who will claw their way up, not someone resting on past achievements. I wanted to scream. To remind him who I was and what I had done. But I simply nodded, packed my things, and walked out. Alone. That night, sitting in my empty apartment, the weight of betrayal crashed down on me. All those years of dedication, of late nights and early mornings, gone, dismissed with a few cruel words. I felt angry, hurt, and more determined than ever. Because I knew one thing for sure, they might have fired me, but they hadn't seen the last of me. The morning after I was fired, Seattle was drenched in rain, the kind that seeps through your clothes and chills you to the bone. I woke up in my small apartment, the silence around me deafening. No buzzing phone, no emails from colleagues, no reassuring messages. Just the quiet aftermath of a storm I didn't see coming. For a moment, I let myself sink into that emptiness. I stared at the ceiling, replaying the conversation with the CEO's son. We need hungry talent. Those words echoed like a taunt. Hungry? Was I not hungry enough? Had all those years of sweat and sacrifice meant nothing? The company I helped build was now saying they wanted fresh faces, younger, more aggressive, talent that's willing to fight for every inch. I knew what that really meant. They wanted someone they could mold, someone who wouldn't question, someone who didn't have a voice yet. Someone who was cheaper and easier to control. But what they didn't realize was that experience and dedication don't just disappear because of a new direction. You can't replace nearly half of a company's revenue with just ambition and hunger. I spent that day reaching out to old contacts, updating my LinkedIn profile, and thinking about what came next. My pride was bruised, but my spirit wasn't broken. I knew that I had skills, connections, and a reputation that no one could take away. But the harsh truth was undeniable: the corporate world was brutal. No matter how much you gave, they were always ready to cut you loose if they thought you didn't fit their shiny new mold. Still, I refused to let this be the end of my story. That same week, I started working on ideas I had shelved for years, projects I'd dreamed of pursuing but never had the time. Suddenly, the freedom to explore felt like a breath of fresh air. I could finally be the architect of my own success. And somewhere deep inside, a fire started to burn, not the desperate, hungry fire they demanded, but a steady, fierce flame fueled by resilience and belief in myself. Weeks turned into months, and as I built my own path, I couldn't help but notice what was happening back at my old company. At first, I heard nothing. Silence. But then, little whispers started filtering through the grapevine, rumors of missed deadlines, unhappy clients, projects falling apart. The company that once relied on me to bring in nearly half its revenue was now struggling to keep up. I wasn't surprised. You can't just replace someone who knows the ins and outs of the business with a shiny new face and expect miracles. One afternoon, I received a vague email from an old colleague, someone I trusted. The tone was desperate, almost pleading. "Rachel, we need you," it said simply. "Things aren't going well here. The new team can't handle the workload." I smiled quietly. It was almost poetic justice. But I didn't respond. They wanted me back, but on their terms. As if I was some tool to be used when convenient. I'd been more than just a number on a spreadsheet. I was the one who built relationships, solved problems, and kept the ship afloat. I realized then how little they understood what I truly brought to the table. They wanted hungry talent, but now they were hungry for me. While the company floundered, I was thriving. I'd launched my own consulting business, leveraging my expertise to help smaller startups grow without the politics and nonsense I'd left behind. My clients valued my experience and my no-nonsense approach. Every day, I woke up excited, not anxious, not uncertain. I was free. I didn't have to prove my worth to anyone else. I knew it, and deep down, so did they. It wasn't long before the calls started. At first, they were sparse. An email here, a message there, each carefully worded, trying not to sound desperate but betraying the panic beneath. I ignored them. But then the phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but my heart skipped a beat. Hesitant, I answered. "Rachel, this is Mark, from the company," a familiar voice stammered. Mark was one of the managers who had supported me, the few people I genuinely trusted there. "Things aren't working out," he said, voice tight with stress. "We're struggling without you. The new team, they're overwhelmed. We need your help." I felt a strange mixture of vindication and calm. I'd been ready for this moment but knew I wasn't going to just walk back in. "I appreciate you reaching out, Mark," I said evenly. "But I'm no longer available for helping out. I'm busy building something new, something that actually values my work." Over the next few days, the calls multiplied. The CEO himself called once, clearly frustrated and trying to mask it with hollow politeness. "Rachel, we'd like to discuss opportunities to return," he said. But his words rang hollow to me. I realized they were panicking because the company was in trouble, revenue was slipping, clients were unhappy, and projects were falling behind schedule. All the new direction and hungry talent rhetoric evaporated when they needed me. But this time, I was in control. I wasn't desperate. I had a growing list of clients who appreciated me, a schedule I could manage on my terms, and the freedom I'd dreamed of for years. I told Mark firmly, "I'm grateful for what I accomplished there, but I'm done being taken for granted. I've moved on, and so should you." Hanging up, I felt an immense sense of peace. The company's panic calls were just reminders of my own worth. They had lost someone invaluable, and I was living proof that sometimes, walking away was the best thing you could do. That night, as the city lights of Seattle shimmered through my apartment window, I smiled. I was free, proud, and finally, truly happy. The days after those frantic calls felt surreal. It was as if the world had shifted beneath my feet, but this time I was standing firmly, grounded by the choices I'd made. No longer tied down by the suffocating walls of that office, I was finally living life on my own terms. I threw myself into my consulting business with a renewed sense of purpose. Unlike the corporate machine that had chewed me up and spit me out, here I was the architect, the boss, and the visionary all at once. My clients weren't just numbers, they were people, startups with real dreams and struggles that I could help solve. Every morning, I woke up excited. No more dragging myself out of bed dreading another day of being undervalued. Instead, I filled my calendar with meetings that mattered to me, projects I believed in. I found joy in the work, in the creativity and freedom that came with it. I even reconnected with old friends I'd neglected for years, making time for dinners and weekend hikes, simple pleasures I had sacrificed for a paycheck. It felt like reclaiming pieces of myself I didn't even realize I'd lost. The contrast between my new life and the corporate chaos I left behind was striking. While my old company was scrambling to fix problems I knew inside and out, I was growing, evolving, and thriving. One afternoon, I got an unexpected message from a former colleague, someone who had been skeptical about the changes but was now reaching out with genuine admiration. "Rachel, I'm amazed at what you've built. You're inspiring." That meant more to me than any corporate title or paycheck ever had. Looking back, I don't regret the firing. It was a brutal wake-up call, but also the catalyst I needed. Sometimes, the hardest moments push us toward the best chapters of our lives. Now, when I think about the phrase, hungry talent, I smile. Yes, I'm hungry, but not for a job or a title. I'm hungry for growth, freedom, and the chance to write my own story. And that story is just beginning. By the time 6 months had passed since that painful goodbye, I had transformed my life in ways I never imagined possible. The fear and uncertainty that once haunted me were replaced by confidence and clarity. Every morning, I woke up knowing I was exactly where I was meant to be, not shackled by office politics or the whims of someone else's new direction, but free to chart my own course. I'd built a business that valued my expertise, my passion, and my leadership. More than that, I'd built a life that felt meaningful. The calls from my old company had stopped. I heard rumors that they were still struggling to fill the gap I'd left. It was oddly satisfying, but I didn't dwell on it. My focus was forward. I invested time in myself, learning new skills, nurturing relationships, and rediscovering joys I'd long ignored. I traveled, I wrote, and I connected with people who inspired me. For the first time in years, I felt whole. Sometimes, I think back to that day when the CEO's son told me I was too old, too expensive, and that the company wanted hungry talent. What they really wanted was control over someone who would never question or push back. But I never stopped pushing back. I never stopped believing in my worth. This is my story, a story about resilience, about reclaiming power when the world tries to take it away. I didn't just survive my firing. I thrived because I refused to let their words define me. If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this: no one gets to decide your value but you. Sometimes the hardest endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings. And today, I'm living proof of that.